Okay, good morning, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. Let me know if you guys can hear my audio and see my screen in the chat box. Just give me a little Y or a yes there just to let me know that it is working. I hope everybody's having a fantastic morning so far. Hopefully your trading has been going well. I know that Aussie yen short is looking good. Yeah, we're up a little bit on that. We'll take a look at that trade in just a moment. But yeah, let's get into our bankers close trade for the day, and we'll get into this. So as always, I just need to remind you guys about the risks involved in the market. You can lose all or more than your initial investment if you're not careful. So please be aware of how many pips you're risking on each trade, in addition to how big your lot size is and ultimately how that would affect your account if you were to lose money. So make sure that you're going through that process each and every time that you take a trade. So all right, guys, well, let's jump into this. So let's pull up our news for the day. And um, we had, let's see, a Bank of England speaker this morning, consumer confidence on the dollar, but nothing that would really affect what you and I do. Maybe the pound a little bit, because I don't know how this talk went with this Bank of England speaker. So I don't know. But we can certainly take a look. I'm trying to get my scanner to pull up here. It's being really weird on me right now. Um, what the heck? It's just so weird. Okay, well, why don't we do this then? I'm just going to pull up each one individually, see how they're trading. Um, okay, so the Euro franc is, one second, let me pull this over. The Euro franc is kind of just in the middle of the Bollinger Band right now. Nothing really there lining up. And then you have the Euro pound. It's close to lining up, not quite though. And then you have the pound franc, also not quite lining up just yet. So that's okay. I would prefer, let me switch over. I normally take them on this account anyway, so let me pull this over. And yeah, I'll switch to a 5-minute. And technically this one, like Aussie franc is hitting the lower Bollinger Band, but I wouldn't be too interested in hopping in it just yet, because this is the next banker, or what's it called? That's the next institutional buy block. So this thing could most likely will continue to fall until it gets to here, and then it would reverse. So this one we'd just be in very early. So I'd want to be a little bit cautious with that one. But yeah, let's just keep looking to see if we can find another pair that's lining up. This one is pretty close to lining up. This CAD Frank, um, it's got its buy block right here, and it is basically in it right now. I'm curious to know if it's going to break through that, because that could be something to be aware of. Let's look at some others. That one's not setting up. Here's the Euro Aussie. This one could be lining up for a short, but I'm not too certain on it yet. Let me do an analysis, because I really would prefer to trade one of our favorite pairs like this one. This, I don't trade patterns that much anymore, but it is lining up a little wedge there, a little pennant. Yeah, I don't really trade those, but it's interesting to see that. Okay, I'm just going to keep looking at a few other pairs. Yeah, this one was lining up about 15 minutes ago. Pound Kiwi. How about the pound dollar? Yeah, not really. Yeah, so I think for me, I would like to trade yeah, either the euro pound or euro franc once they line up, once we actually get a setup. Actually, the euro franc is just lining up now. Yeah, so this could be a buy. Something to be aware of here, if we do buy into this, here's a buy block right here. Technically, this whole thing's a buy block. So um, that would be our, I'd say the market could come all the way down into there before it reverses, and that's fine. That's not too bad. It's like 27 pips before you get your move to the upside. So I'm okay with that. So I'll go ahead and start working my position, and I'm going to buy, just do a starter position buy on the euro franc. But be aware that it could drop into this box and probably will drop into this box. So there is risk there, but that's the risk that I think everybody should be aware of. All right, and then I'm going to just kind of scatter my buy limits in here. Inside that box. And we'll let this thing do its thing. Yeah, it does look like it's making some lower highs up here. They kind of make me think that it's weakening, like this market's weakening. So that is something to be aware of. Does it mean you don't trade this? No, it's absolutely a good banker's close trade, um, especially because you're at the end of the day, right? End of the trading day, at least in terms of London, and there's no news associated with this pair, like at all. So and then you do have a buy block down here that you could work with. So this market, sure, like it could come down into this buy block and you could draw down 27 pips. But in all likelihood, if it were to draw down those 27 pips, um, the following move would be a move back to retest. And this is where that's all we need to make our money. That's all we need. Um, could it go up from here and just break up? Sure. I don't see that the way I'm looking at the candlesticks in the chart. I don't see that as what the market's going to do is just a move straight up. I mean, could happen. And if it did, great, like good for us. But in reality, this looks like it's going to be one of those trades where it dips into here. I don't know exactly how far, but it's going to dip into this block. And then from there, we'll get your nice little move, and then that's all you need to make money. So that's how I'm going to play this one. There really, to be all honest, there wasn't a lot of setups today. Like this, like even the pound franc wasn't really lining up, or the euro pound. Yeah, this guy's not even really lining up. You go look at the pound franc, and let's see, here it is. And it could line up soon. Like we could get a, you know, a touch in the lower Bollinger Band there. If that happens, then you could get a move up. Sure. But it hasn't happened yet. So that's why I kind of just went with the Euro franc first. And yeah, it looks great to me for a banker's close. Like there is a lot of liquidity in this area between those two red lines, where I do believe you'd get a nice move up before the end of the day. So again, no news, so that makes sense. There's no news, there's no reason for the market to do anything crazy. So basically, you have the green light to respond to liquidity only if there's no news or other things affecting this market. So since we know that there's liquidity in this area, we should be able to take advantage of that because there's nothing else that would supersede that concept. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. If not, come back, watch the recording, or ask some more questions. But it's this will be a great trade. We just have to wait for it to pan out. But I don't know if this is going to be one of those trades. It just doesn't look like it to me, where it's going to be one of those that makes its money immediately. Like we've had some other trades in the past with bankers close where you take the trade and immediately you're profitable and you're just in and out in 20, 30 minutes. I think this one's going to be a little bit more of a, hey, we have to build this thing, um, maybe over an hour or two type of thing, and then we'll get that move. But it looks good nonetheless. I just want to put context out there and clarification so that nobody is like surprised about the results. End result, overall end result is we make money. That should be what happens. But in the meantime, we may have to draw down a little bit and capture some of these orders in this liquidity here before before we get the move we want. Anyway, hope that makes sense. Great. So I'm going to move this out of the way, and let's talk about our trade that I opened last night. So I am up a solid 1K right now on this trade, on the Aussie yen short. I want to show you what I'm doing here with this trade. So this is a 5-minute chart. So I didn't really base the trade off of this. In fact, let's actually go and look at Trading View, because that's where I do my deep analysis when I'm doing these swing trades, when I'm trying to grab, when I'm trying to make some money overnight or a swing trade type of thing. Almost exclusively I'm doing that on Trading View, right? So anyway, this is super awesome. Like, it's already up nearly $1,200 now, as you can see down here. And it's got a lot more to go. Like, this is a big trade. Like, that's fun to be up $1,200, but do not close now. Like, there's way more to go on this setup. Way more to go on this setup. So let's go to here. So here's the Aussie yen on Trading View. Okay, so let's see here. So how do I want to do this? So yeah, I'll start off by this. So here's an hourly chart, or actually this is a 2-hour chart. Let me switch back to an hourly. Almost exclusively do I trade on an hourly chart when I'm looking for these swing trades. I think I've said that before, but just as a reminder to those watching in the recording or live, it's an hourly chart. So over the last like month or two, this market's been kind of everywhere, but I guess over the last month though, it came up and then it's been in this consolidation, but this consolidation has had a spice of downside to it, right? Like, every time it comes up, it forms a high, but that high is lower than the previous high, right? And we're also getting a lot of lows that are lower than the previous low. We've had some other phenomenon here. Again, I always tell you guys I don't trade patterns. I don't, and I'm proud of it, but nonetheless, there is a pattern here. Right? Like, little pennant pattern that happened right there, and the subsequent break, which is just interesting to see. No reason as to why I got into the trade though. And that was an important component. Then the other thing that I was looking for, and you guys already know this is what I'm always looking for, is I'm looking for buy and sell blocks. So when you look through here, you're like, okay, well, where's the next buy block and sell block, like big block? We're talking about higher time frame blocks, not the ones that exist everywhere on smaller time frames, because they are everywhere. I'm talking about where the real big 2, 3, 4, 5 month long liquidity boxes exist, right? Those big boxes that the market tries to go to by the end of the year type of thing, that kind of stuff. because those are where the real money is. That's where the real money is made if you know where those kinds of things are. It'll also help you take better trades on a smaller time frame if you know where those big boxes are on a higher time frame, right? So when I was looking on here, I thought, well, is there anything in here? Well, kind of. There are some boxes in here, but the fact that this market came up just a little bit and didn't just continue higher, it struggled to, excuse me, it struggled to continue higher from here, like in a big way. To me, I'm not really interested in the buy blocks that are somewhere in here. I'm not really interested in those ones. In fact, this market just increasingly looks like it wants to just break this low down here at some point. And, you can see it touched this box that I drew out here a while ago. This happened back in August. But this is the buy block that I drew out. This is a really solid buy block right here. In fact, I'd probably increase it up just a little. This is a that is I need you guys to recognize these because this is how you're going to make your money. Find out, what is the consolidation that caused this massive breakout? Like when you see a massive breakout like this, your eyes should directly go to the base of whatever caused it. Oh, it was this. Whatever this is caused this. So in the future, if the market ever comes back to this, you should think, oh, reversal, right? So right here, touched it. The market was like rejection, right? As soon as it touched it. And I don't think the market's been there ever since. It's been close. Like I got close right there, but never touched. And I think this time it'll come back and touch it again at least. But I actually think it's possible that this may be the time it just breaks through. And I have reasons for that, and I'll show you those reasons in just a moment. But that's your first basis is like, hey, this market is pretty far away from liquidity. Like, where's liquidity? Oh, it's inside this box or below. And I'll actually show you why it's below too. But there's no liquidity for this market. Like when we're talking about this, the what the market makers are looking for on a end of year basis, what they're looking to get to, where do they want the markets to be before the end of the year or maybe at the start of next year. I believe they're looking at this level down here. I really do. In fact, they may even be looking at some levels down here too for the end of the year. And I'll show you all those reasons why in just a moment. But yeah, if you come back to where this liquidity formed originally back in May, yeah, this is where it's at, is all the way back here. And it hasn't been here very often, like at all. And then there's also this liquidity right here. Look at this. This one formed back in March of this year. And again, train your eyes to find stuff like this. If you see a big move up like this, go back to the base, go back to where it started, find out why it did that. Oh, whatever happened in here caused this big move. And in reality, it's really just this right here. That's all you need. Like that's a liquidity pool right there. That is a massive liquidity pool. So if the market ever came back to that, I would expect, especially this one, because the market's never, that's another thing too. If the market hasn't ever touched a liquidity pool, order block, whatever you want to call it, if it's never touched it before, the first time it ever touches it, 90% of the time, you're going to get a rejection. Even if ultimately the market slices through a liquidity pool, the first time it touches most likely is going to be a move to the upside or a rejection, whatever. It depends if you're buying or selling, but it will be a rejection. That's why this pull right here, we've had rejections, like right here in August, massive rejection right there. Very quick opportunity. Think about this. If you had spotted this back in August, and you placed your buy limit on that liquidity pool right there, which we've done multiple times on other pairs. The amount of money you can make in like a short period of time, we're talking about 2, 3, 4, 5 days, is mind-boggling. Like it is just insane amounts of money. And your buddies who don't know about this, they're shorting this when it starts to come back up here and they don't know what's going on. They're like, I thought it was down. I thought the market was going down. Why did it reverse on me so hard? And then you're like, oh, well, if you had just looked for a liquidity pool back here, you would have been able to determine that. Um, or you just don't tell them, right? Um, but you can make all your money on this right here. But it's kind of insane when you start to think about what could be made on a move like that. Yeah. Anyway, so okay, now that we've done that pre-analysis and found where liquidity exists, like you come back to where the market is now, and you're like, oh, hey, like this market is at least, we'll say like 200 pips away, 198 pips away from its next real big liquidity. That's a huge opportunity if that's you or me, right? That's a huge opportunity, guys. Huge opportunity to make money on that. And there really isn't a lot of liquidity up here. Like it's already been tapped into, like any of the liquidity areas. Like I would say up here, this is a liquidity area, and it's already been tapped into largely. Like it's had a couple of touches right here. Like the market's had an opportunity to mitigate those areas. Plus, there's really not a narrative for this market to break up. Like so far, the narrative is only to break down. You've got a market that's creating lower highs, right? Um, but that's not all. Here's the sweet sauce. Once I've done my pre-analysis, like I've just done with you, what I just did with you is basically what I do myself. And then what I like to do is pull up, the Sonar Lab. I like to find out where those buy and sell blocks are on, just on the chart in relation to what I've drawn out. And here's what's really interesting to me, guys. So there has been, if you actually zoom into this, like to the last couple of days, look how many cell blocks there are up here from Sonar Lab. Sonar Lab says there's 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 institutional cell blocks all overlapped in the same spot right here. That doesn't happen all too often. I mean, it happens, but to see that many cell blocks in one spot is kind of insane. Like that means the institutions, at least at this level right here, were ready to sell. And obviously it came down, but as far as I can tell, they're not really interested in buying this up. Like, yeah, sure, there's a buy block down here, but that buy block was formed right here. It was formed right here. That's long gone, guys. That was back in October. And sure, we've touched it once now, and that's why we're finding a little bit of trouble here pushing lower. But I don't believe that buy block is going to hold and cause the market to break through 5 sell blocks, right? You got 5 sell blocks right here. It's insane, just insane. Okay. So you have institutional support right here and the Illuminati, right? Like they're all right here selling. Okay. And the next buy block is basically where I have my areas drawn out. In fact, now look at this. You come down here, look how many, this is all liquidity. All of this is liquidity, this whole abyss. What, for me, I look at that and I think, wow, the banks want to get back to that. They want to get back to this. because they want to float to where liquidity used to be, right? And they've already made their decision. Like they're selling right here. Like obviously they're convinced, like, hey, let's go down. So this is where all of that exists, is down in this area. So that's why I think you're going to at least get back to this purple block that I drew out. And you can see there's an overlap of 1, 2, 3 blocks inside my block, kind of in different spots, but yeah, there are some blocks there. And there's some other blocks here. And then down in this pull where I drew my last purple box, there's 1, 2, at least 2 blocks in there, and then there's one below that. So I personally, just way I'm looking at this, I think the markets want to return back to all of this mess down here. Specifically, I think they'll do really well if you were to take this trade and sell right now. I wouldn't close a single order until you hit, 200 pips from now. Close half your position, make sure you lock in that profit, close half, and then the other half, honestly, I would let ride. Plus 600 pips down to there. I think you'll do really well on that. But yeah, I did all of this analysis on my own. I looked at the different patterns. I looked at the buy blocks, sell blocks. I looked at the way the candlesticks and the trend has been moving. The lack of bull momentum, all of it I've been monitoring. And then once I did all that, I went on here, and then this is what got me just so stoked, just so excited. The fact that so recently, I mean, what is this? Just over the weekend, on Friday, they there's 5 blocks in there, just right there, overlapped in the same area. So yeah, this is gonna be a great trade. Yeah, it's gonna be a great little trade. You can look at other pairs. There's a few pairs that have overlaps like this, but not. I mean, that have overlaps, maybe like three order blocks overlapping, but to have 4 or 5, that's kind of crazy. And they're so thin, which I like, which means that there's a conviction at this level. Like there's an absolute conviction right here. And yeah, there are some other cell blocks up here too. That makes sense. All of this makes sense, like why they sold right there and why they sold here and why they sold there. All of these blocks make sense. But there's just this absolute recent, and that's keyword, recent conviction to sell this right in this area. So that's why I'm really standing by this trade. I wish more people would have shown up today, because I really wish they could see my conviction behind this trade, because it is going to be a good one. But remember the context, like this is a longer term trade. You're going to have to hang on to this for a little bit. It's not going to be something that we're going to close really fast. Sure, if the market breaks down 100 or 200 pips, we'll probably close half of our position and leave the rest. So yes, we will be booking profits hopefully soon. But we need to let this thing go away still. Like I am up on this trade. I guess now I'm up $1,600 on this trade. But I'm looking to close out. Let's see. Let me put a line on here. I'll close out half my position if we get to this area right here. So that's 0.90 or 90, like 600-ish, a little over 600. 90. Oh wow, that's all the way down here. It's even further than that, but I'll just leave it there for now. But yeah, you can see, like if the trade's already positive 1,600, and up 43 pips on this trade, it's got to go an extra 200. Yeah, so like that, by the time this thing hits half of its target, this trade will be up like six, seven, $8,000 by the time it gets to its halfway point. So, and that's halfway of just the trade. Like the next stop after it hits this liquidity zone would be all the way down here. So I think I did the math on this trade. If this trade works out, by the time it would hit its ultimate target, it would be up like $27,000 by the time it's done. And like, yeah, if it hit its first target, you're up $7,000, we'll say, which is awesome. But yeah, so you're gonna have to be patient to get that. It's not gonna happen overnight. It's not gonna happen in a week. Like it could take some time, but even if you're just looking for a short-term opportunity, it's still great. Like you don't have to ride it all the way to the second target because it's possible it doesn't get there. But I personally, the way I'm looking at everything here, I am pretty confident that it's gonna go to at least here. Um, so yeah, you've got about 200 pips to go or so. So yeah, really, really great trade that, huge opportunity on this pair. Um, but yeah, so you're just looking for those zones. You're kind of observing what the market's done recently, what's been the activity. And then the last thing to me that confirmed it all was, hey, obviously the banks are already loaded up. They were loaded before we were even loaded, obviously, but that's not necessarily bad for us. We're good to go. And then I have my stop loss pretty much right behind all of their liquidity that the banks formed right here. So my theory is, if this market wants to go against us, let them re-tap into their liquidity here. In all likelihood, it's going to come down. So I feel like I'm safe with my stop loss up there. If I lose on this trade, yes, I will probably lose on the lot size that I have on. It'll probably be like $5,000. Like it'd be about a $5,000 loss. But I just look at it like, well, hey, this trade could potentially make me, um, well, $27,000, like I mentioned, max. And a minimum target is $7,000. So I felt like, okay, well, that's a good trade. That's worth taking. Reward to risk ratio is good. So anyway, that's my trade for now. I'll probably take some more trades later, but for now, that's my swing trade setup that I'm feeling pretty good about. And so far so good, right? So far so good. All right, guys, let's take a look at this. So here's the Euro franc. Not much has happened. It's actually improved just slightly from its low on our bankers close trade. The market has pulled back a little bit, but then it's come back up. So just being slow like normal, that's fine. It actually looks like it wants to hold this level, which is fine. Like if it just wants to go in our favor right away, great. But even if it wants to go down against us first, that's perfectly fine too. All right. I was thinking about this. I don't know what you guys think, but I was thinking about renaming the banker's close strategy or giving it a nickname. I was thinking about calling this the retirement trade. The reason why I think that's a good name for it is because I feel like for most retirees, it's really nice. You just get up in the morning casually. It's not too late. It's not too early. Um, it's a slower trade, nothing crazy that's going to make you um, get scared about the market. It's a non-news trade, so that gets rid of even more anxiety. It's just but it's also like slow and steady and consistent. Like it's an everyday phenomenon, you know. So anyway, just thought it would be a good name as well, the retirement trade, because you could literally retire on the banker's close trade. Yeah, you definitely could, or at least get a nice little side income from just the banker's close. But yeah, anyway, we'll let this continue to do its thing. It's slow trade this morning, but makes sense because there's no news. We'll just let it do its thing. All right, so I was just gonna look for some other opportunities. Of just, if you guys are gonna hang out with me, I'm just gonna look for some more setups. I had a trade last night I was surprised about. It was basically the same thing on the Aussie franc. I've been shorting the Aussie. This guy actually popped up here and he's pulled back since, but I'm kind of surprised that it was able to do this. Um, this is basically the same concept. I'm looking for the Aussie franc to pull back into this liquidity zone right here, which is 100 pips away. I still think the Aussie yen is a better trade to take, but you could trade this one as an alternate trade. So like if you couldn't trade the Aussie yen, you could do this one short instead, potentially. Let's see. Oh, this is interesting. Look at this guy. This guy just blew past a supply zone. Let's see why. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, yeah, I don't like this one because um this one, okay, let's talk about this. So this was a supply zone right here, and the market did blow past it, and that happens sometimes, right? That's why you have to keep your stop losses in check. One final thought on that real quick that I've been really thinking about. I've said this before, but your ability, my ability, our ability to take losses strategically is what keeps you in business. I've traded a lot of strategies in the past where I felt really confident about a trade and I won't manage my risk. Like I'll take really big stop losses that are not unnecessary. And, even though I had a really good trade before that, that big loser just wiped out everything I made. So it's really important to learn how to take strategic losses because if you don't, it could be the difference between you making money and not making money. So, all right, guys. So let's go over here. So when you pull back to this direction, sure, this makes sense that this is a supply zone right here. Okay. Okay. Right. When you kind of zoom into this, you can see this consolidation right before the subsequent breakout. That's a supply zone. Okay. But when you go back here, it's really confusing. And this is why I didn't trade this, because when you come back here, like how do you determine where the next supply zone is? Like everything's kind of like connected. Everything's like you've got this big move up right here, big move down, but there's no real solid stopping point with this market. So for me, the next real obvious area is honestly all the way up here. Like I wouldn't feel comfortable shorting unless it got up to something like this, right? That's the last supply zone that's pretty obvious. Hey, this market kind of consolidated here. It went back and forth, had a little move up, had a little move down, and then ultimately broke out from there. But that's the next supply zone. So in reality, this thing could see a continuation. I'm sorry for all the folks that are buying, or excuse me, that are selling this right now, thinking like, hey, look at me, I'm going to find the top of the market. Guys, like this top might be all the way up here. Like that's the next supply zone that's obvious. So somebody who's shorting this, you could be in for 138 pips of absolute mayhem, margin calls, you name it, until there. So I actually might look for more opportunities to buy this instead of sell it. I actually had a friend. Let me take a look. I don't know. I had a friend that was looking to trade this too. I don't know which direction he was going to trade, but I'll have to respond to that later, but um, it's just like, sure, this supply zone made sense. It just didn't work out. This supply area, which is also another telltale sign. Like, hey, if the market can just blow past the supply zone like that, it should make you and me kind of turn our heads a little bit. Like, hey, what's going on here, right? And yeah, if you come back over here, yeah, that makes sense right there. But then there's really nothing that makes sense beyond that. There really isn't. Um, I mean, you could argue that this is a supply zone. I mean, I hate to do it, but yeah, you could say that that's a supply zone right there. I wouldn't say it's the best one. Let me actually go back to my hourly chart. Let me come back over here. Where did it go? There it is. Okay. Let me take a closer look at this. Uh, well, yeah, that might be a good selling area. It's just another supply zone. Maybe. Okay, let's look at this. Are we closer to this? Has the market gotten to this yet? How far till we hit this? Yeah, so we're not even there yet. So still, um, I would say if it were you or me, I would be just buying this. If I had to pick a trade, which I don't even know if I would want to trade this one. If I had to trade this, I would buy, but I wouldn't get out until it hit there or hit there. Like I wouldn't, and ultimately I'd rather sell this, but I wouldn't want to sell until it got to here or here. But I don't know about you guys, but I used to be that trader who would look at something like this in the morning. I'd wake up and I'd see this type of thing. And I'd be like, holy moly, I'm going to sell that thing. I'm going to sell, sell, sell. And it's going to come down. And I'm going to be like, hey, look at me. I sold at the top of the market. And then I don't know about you, but my hands were bloody at the end of the day. Like I would sell right there and then it would just keep going. And another 65 pips and I wouldn't know why. I wouldn't know why. And I just thought it was crazy that the market could do such a thing, right? But now we trade better, we trade smarter, right? We look for real opportunities, we look for real cause and effect of the market. We manage our risk, right? We put in stop losses. Don't let anybody tell you that you shouldn't use a stop loss. Anybody that doesn't use a stop loss, I guarantee has not been in the business long enough, or they've been in the business, but they don't know what they're doing. I used to work at a place that didn't really use stop losses very well. Like they just kind of like whatever. And it like the yeah, anyway, it's just not a good way to go. It's just not a good way to go. So but yeah, so I would say that this block up here or this block up here would be the next selling zone. So um if you want to buy that, you can. I don't know what kind of reward to risk ratio you could demand out of the market if you bought that now. But what I'm going to do with this, now that I've seen a big break of liquidity here, is I'm going to be looking for sells right there. And I'm going to look for a sell right there. But that's 65 pips away. But yeah, that's going to be a, let me look at this supply zone one more time. Yeah, that's a good supply zone. Like it is fine. Like that's gonna work just fine. You can see it formed a nice little support here and then got crushed and just never came back. Yeah, that's actually gonna be a good one. Same thing up here. So yeah, definitely. I have a little app on my phone. In fact, I'll probably do this right now. I have a little app on my phone. It's called just FX Alerter or FX Alerts right here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but here, let me I don't know if you guys can see this, but right there, it says FX alerts. I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's a little blue app. If you go to the App Store and just search FX alerts, it's like a little blue app with like a little red ball inside of it. That's what I use for my alerts. And you can pick your pair and you can just put it in. So I can click on the Aussie CAD and I'm going to say, yeah, when the market gets to 0.91898, I want to be alerted. In fact, I might go just below that because still that's great. 0.91878. So I just 0.9187. There it is. And I just save that alert, and that way it'll text me. It'll actually text me when the market gets there. I had this trading idea, and I actually thought about paying somebody to make a robot for this. I don't know what you guys think, but I think it's a genius idea. So, like for example, let's say the market comes up to that area, like up here. We're not willing to sell unless it got up to here. So if it got to here, we know that there's a pretty good chance of a reversal that's coming soon. So what you do is you place a trade to sell right there, and your stop loss goes at the other side of the liquidity zone. And what you're doing is you just stack trades. Like, so if the trade goes in your favor, we'll say 2 pips, you add another trade. If it goes in your favor, another 2 pips, you add another trade. So you're adding to the trade as it goes in your favor, versus the way I used to trade, which was only adding when it goes against you. Like I would just, oh, it's gone against me, another 2 pips, add another trade. Oh, it's against me, another 2 pips, add another trade. That's honestly the only time I use that type of trading management system is with the banker's close. And the reason why I feel like I can get away with it with the banker's close is because with the banker's close, the market typically won't go against you very far if you apply all the other rules that we talked about. Versus like with this, like if you were to sell now, this thing could go against you 65 pips. And if you're adding a trade to sell every 2 pips, by the time it actually gets to a real liquidity zone, you could be down thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, right? And you could be at risk of losing your account and all sorts of other things, right? So, so that's why I don't like that type of methodology right there. So, I would prefer to add to a trade if it's going in my favor. But the reason why I felt like adding to the trade when it goes in our favor when it gets here is because from what we know, if the market reaches a liquidity zone like that, most of the time, especially if it's its first time hitting that liquidity zone, the market will probably pull back very quickly. So the opportunity to make a lot of money very quickly just becomes even more magnified because you're adding to a trade that's gone in your favor. So anyway, I was thinking about having somebody create a robot that you could pick an area. You could say, okay, 0.91883, if the market got there, go ahead and execute a sell. And then every 2 pips below that, add another trade to sell. And then you're just going down, 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 down. And so that trade is quickly making you a lot of money very quickly. And then you're out type of thing. Anyway, it's just a trade idea. I was thinking about making it. I've got a couple of guys that know how to make robots. I just hire people from like Morocco that know how to make robots. I've had some people in Morocco make robots for me in the past that have worked. So I might just go to them and have them do it. But anyway, let's see. How's our trade? Oh, nice. Banker's close is now positive. Not a ton, but it is positive. And now we're just still waiting, right? I'm just gonna let this thing do its thing. Just still wait. It's been a slow grind. right, let's go to a 1-minute chart and zoom in. Came down a little bit, added a couple of trades, and now we're up here, positive. Let's see if we can come up into here, I would say this area. I'd like to close out some trades if it came up into there. Maybe I'll start doing that now. Just kind of get some of these targets ready to go. Okay. And I'm just going to leave those stops down there. That's fine for now. You'll get an update from me in the next couple of hours, letting you know how I've managed this. Hopefully we've had another 5 or 10 pip move to the upside, because that'll close out most of our trades. If we get another 5 or 10 pip move up, if it goes down, okay, then great. We'll just work with that too. But it's just going to be kind of a slow grind until the end of the day. So that's why you'll get an update from me later. It's just because there's not much to update on right now. All right, so that's good. We'll let the bankers close trade do its thing. And obviously, oh wow, nice. This trade's doing even better. I'm up almost $1,800 now on this trade. That's going to be such a fun trade. I'm super excited. It's already such a fun trade, and I'm just even more excited about it going forward. So, all right, guys, appreciate your attendance. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you in the next webinar.